Hey everybody, I'm Rachel K. Collier, and in today's video I'm going to share with you my 5 steps to creating a release ready arrangement. So basically how I got from this to 87 tracks later, this. I'm also going to show you some very funky AI plugins from Focusrite that I think could really benefit your production journeys. Okay, so the song I'm going to be demonstrating with today is called I Wish You Well. It's my brand new single. It's out everywhere now. Some of you may even recognize it from a little live performance that I did in my back garden last summer. So here you can see the Ableton set for this little live performance, made up of a total 10 tracks. And even though I love what I did when I created this, it is definitely too basic and it doesn't stand up to modern production standards for a release across all DSP platforms. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to share with you the steps that I go through to get this ready for a final release. Let's do it. Step 1, beef it up. So this first stage, there's 2 things we need to do. Beef up all of the initial riffs and add any new riffs if appropriate. This is a really fun stage because no hard decisions need to be made. All we need to do is thicken out everything we've got here on the arrangement page. So here's my original drum part. It's actually super simple. It's just one stem from the MC707 drum machine. Bounce into the final live session and you can see the drums have gone from one little loop to all these tracks you can see in pink. And how I go about beefing up my drums really depends on my mood. I'm usually doing a combination of XLNs, XO. So you can see I've got some XO kicks here. And then I've also done some fun things like duplicate the drum track and distort it majorly to give some extra vibe. And let me show you one of these funky AI plugins that I was telling you about that can really help enhance the sounds of your drums. So this one is called the Fast Equalizer, and I'm so impressed with these plugins. That's why I really want to share them with you. This is super cool. What happens is it listens to your drum track, learns it, and then it gives you all these options of different EQ profiles you can use to process your drums. Instantly adds a bit of life, and again is super fast for just quickly doing a little bit of tone shaping processing. And then back to the first session, here is the original bass part. I've majorly beefed up the Juno bass. I've added 3 extra bass synth textures from a really cool Ableton pack called the Modal Selector Pack. I've just downloaded that within Ableton and added these. Really fun little ones. I've also added then guitar. This took me ages to record. Now if we have a little look at the original pads, we've only actually got 3 parts. We've got the Juno chords, we've got an ARP, and also 1 chord, B minor chord for the chorus. And for once in my life, I haven't actually gone too crazy adding loads of synths. I've just doubled up that B minor chord with a little Prophet sound, and I've processed it with some coloration from the fast compressor. Now the vocals is another story. Obviously in the live performance there was just 1 single track. I've added many. Everything in blue here is something vocal related. I've even added a big chunky gang vocal down there. I really wanted to try and create this epic sound. Only regret the chances we didn't take. And I also added a pretty significant riff with the actual original vocal take. I chopped it up, put it into simpler. Really important in the mix. So step 1, beefing up all your initial sounds and adding a lot of weight and depth to the original textures. Step 2, the arrangement stage, contour and contrast. So this might sound really simple, what I'm about to say now, but this is so important, the dynamics in your production. It's about telling a story from the moment you start to the moment you end. You need to take your listener on a journey. And this is something I always try to do in my productions, create awesome peaks and troughs. Have a little listen to this. We've got the intro, which is very stripped back. Then here's the first contrast, straight to the drums. Then we're taking it back down a notch for the vocals to cut through in the verses. And then we're gonna absolutely go for it for the chorus. Strip it right back down, a very dramatic change. Back down for verse 2. Second chorus, gonna hit hard, but also we're gonna keep moving. We're gonna use that whole gang vocal. I've got additional guitar melodies here. So it's really worth checking in with your production and make sure you've got sections that really contrast and give it a nice mountain range shape. Step 3, the almighty transition. So super important, your song is not finished until you've gone in on those transitions. So let me show you how I approach some of mine. Number 1 transition trick is a reversed reverb. See this group of blue audio channels here? If all of these are pretty much a reversed reverb, and they will be from sounds that are already in my track. Sounds that I've added a big load of reverb to, resampled it, reversed it, and here it is for the transition. Very spacious here. But then it cuts completely dry to almost a whole new set of sounds. So very, very important when we're doing our transitions is automation and making sure that we're cutting that sound completely dead so you get a really, really dramatic change. Another thing I like to do with my transitions is reversing sounds before a change. So you can see these chords here, the Juno chords, I've reversed. And this I think sounds pretty cool going into the drop. Don't even know that I tried. And something else that I love to do is really, really, really strip it down to almost nothing and boom into the drop. So here we go, I've got these kind of a cappella almost vocals here. Really strip it back and explode. And to enhance the drop, of course, I'm adding lots of crashes just to give that extra punch. Another thing that's cool to do is to experiment with rhythms. And what I've done here is actually removed the chord from beat 1 and taken it out of beat 4. So have a little listen to this transition. Just takes a little bit of interest there for the listener, and this was a tip I learned from my lovely friend Chris Harris. And what I'm doing here as well with the drums, you can hear I'm filtering them down and making space so you can hear that transition change. To enhance my transitions even further, a really, really simple trick is a little bit of auto filter on the master. So just pulling out the bass, pulling out the bass, pulling out the bass, so that when the bass drops again, you get a real feeling of bass in your heart. Bass remove, bass remove, bass remove, back in. But I would like to say that I do spend a long time on these transitions. Sometimes they come easy and sometimes they really don't. So if you end up spending a long time on a transition, I promise it'll be worth it in the end. Step 4, ear candy. Now, you may have heard this phrase before. I think it's a pretty cool phrase. I think I've heard Andrew Huang saying it a few times. But ear candy, I think, is the perfect way to describe these little bites of sounds that pop up here and there and really feel good in the ear. So ways I like to do this is, of course, adding toms. One of my favourite things ever, chucking them in here and there. Addictive drums, they make the most beautiful sounding toms. Da-da-da. I also like to pan my toms sometimes. And don't forget, also tidy them up at the end with automation so they don't spill over too much and pollute your next section. Also, one of my favourite things for ear candy is just ad-libs. I'll sing anything into the microphone and then chop out little phrases and sprinkle it around my song. And here, in the mix, you can hear it.
Only regret the chances we didn't take, leaving a story there.
And another little plugin I have been loving from the Fast Bundle is the Fast Verb. I'm going to show you this in action right now, how we're actually going to process the reverb here. We're going to learn the sound. And then it's so fun. We can do lots of things. We can even reverse the verb here. So have a little listen to this. You can bounce it around. Can even do a little freeze. And even though this is kind of one of the final stages, just adding these ear candy moments, they are very satisfying. Step 5, mixing and mastering. So mixing is a huge topic. I could talk about it for a few days. There's a whole chapter in it in my Ableton course. But right now I'm going to talk about something that's maybe a little bit underrated, very, very, very important, and that is volume. So when you finish your track, you're going to want to send it to a mastering engineer so it's ready and loud enough for all the DSP streaming platforms. And you want to try and get the level of your mix no louder than -6 dB. So if I roll the loudest part of my track now, let's check the level. There we go, around -6.75, and that means there's enough headroom there for the mastering engineer to run it through all the gear and make it sound great. I want to show you now something that I think is super cool, and again, it's in the Fast Bundle. There's 4 plugins in there. There's of course the compressor, the equalizer, the verb, which you just saw. Now we're going to look at Reveal. And Reveal is a pretty special little plugin because this is a plugin that makes space in the mix of 2 competing sounds. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to load this onto a track, for example the bass, where I feel, you know what, this bass is overpowering, it's overshadowing my kick drum. And then what I can do is I can set the input here as the kick drum. So I've done that with the routing in Ableton. So here we go, kick 1. And then what I'm going to do, I am going to learn what's going on here with the AI feature. And here we go. So all the red that we can see here is the bass sound, and the green is the kick and the level of what's been let through. So just so we can really hear it in action, let's pump up the ducking to 100% and put it on heavy. And if I do these little headphones here, this is what's been taken out from that bass to let that through. We can play with the parameters, we can move these up and down, turn the precision. So you get like a full sidechain effect there. But you can see how this is really allowing the kick drum to cut through a lot more. So it's a really excellent plugin for just creating some space in the mix. Highly recommend it. So mixing and mastering is obviously super important for your release. Now mastering is actually quite affordable, you can outsource that, but mixing can be a little bit more expensive, and that's why it's maybe good to check out a few mixing tutorials and also have a little play with plugins like this that can help you along the way in the mixing journey. So there we have it. There's my 5 steps to creating a release-ready arrangement and production. If you want to get your hands on the Ableton set, the stems, and a cheeky little sample pack from the song, then head over to my Patreon right now. Also, if you want to learn how to produce, I've got a whole course on how to produce with Ableton Live. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you so much for watching it to the end of this video. I really hope you like I Wish You Well. Go and stream it, tell everyone about it, and I'll love you forever. See you guys next time. Mwah.